There came a time when I understood that strength was not a display of force, but the mastery of stillness. The world had taught me to equate dominance with noise, with the raised voice, the aggressive gesture, the hunger to be seen and validated. But the older I grew, the more I realized that the men who truly command respect rarely demand it. They carry it within them like gravity. Their silence speaks louder than the shouting of 1,000 insecure egos. To reach that state, I had to unlearn much of what I'd been taught about power. I began to see that the most dangerous man is not the one who reacts, but the one who can absorb chaos without flinching. In restraint, there is containment. In containment, there is energy. And in energy, there is authority. The art of withholding, of choosing when not to act, became my greatest weapon, my hidden crown. At first, this way of living felt unnatural. We are trained from boyhood to chase, to prove, to conquer. Every impulse urges us outward to respond, to argue, to retaliate, to assert. But when I started practicing deliberate restraint, something profound shifted. I noticed that every moment I withheld a reaction, I gained presence. I started to observe instead of participate in the noise of the world. I realized that silence unnerves people, not because it is empty, but because it is full. It is full of unspent power, unspoken confidence, and the mystery of the unknown. The man who says less commands more. The man who moves slowly controls the pace. The man who waits wins. My silence became a mirror that revealed the insecurities of others. While they rushed to fill the void with explanations, apologies, or defense, I remained still, and in that stillness, authority was born. Respect is not demanded. It is drawn to composure, like iron to a magnet. With time, I discovered that this inner composure was not about indifference, but awareness. It required me to feel everything deeply and yet not be enslaved by it. Every desire, frustration, and temptation that once pulled me off center became material for mastery. The modern world runs on stimulation, constant distraction, endless urgency, and emotional reaction. To resist that current is to reclaim your sovereignty. I learned to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it, to delay gratification instead of chasing it, to observe emotion without being consumed. This withholding was not suppression, it was alchemy. It was turning chaos into clarity, impulse into insight, and reaction into response. The more I practiced it, the more I could feel my internal power solidified. People began to sense it too. They could feel when I entered a room, not because I was trying to dominate the space, but because I didn't need to. Stillness radiates. It speaks to a primal part of human nature that recognizes order amidst disorder. Silent dominance is not intimidation. It's calibration, the art of being unmoved while others lose themselves in noise. Yet this mastery came with its trials. There were moments when the silence felt like exile, when withholding words or reactions made me seem distant, misunderstood, or cold. But I learned that isolation is the price of inner order. To command respect, you must first be willing to stand alone. The crowd fears the man who cannot be swayed by its approval. It is easier to follow the rhythm of the herd than to hear your own pulse in the quiet. But when you learn to love that quiet, when you stop running from your own depth, something remarkable happens. You become whole. You no longer seek validation because you've already found alignment. I began to realize that respect is a reflection of inner coherence. The more integrated I became, my words, actions, and values in harmony, the more naturally respect followed. People can feel when a man means what he says and says what he means. In a world addicted to performance, authenticity is rebellion. Through this discipline, I also discovered that power is not about dominance over others, it is mastery over the self. The true battlefield is internal, desire versus direction, emotion versus reason, noise versus silence. Every man must face this duel daily. Those who win it walk through life with quiet certainty. They do not need to explain themselves because their presence does the talking. Withholding became for me a form of meditation, a practice of remaining anchored while everything around me shifted. I learned that most arguments don't need answers, most temptations don't deserve attention, and most opportunities can wait until timing ripens. Patience is the highest form of strength. The world worships speed, but it secretly respects stillness. Every king, every leader, every master of craft has known this truth. Control of timing is control of destiny. To wait when others rush is to see what others miss. Now, as I live this art, I see that silent dominance is not about hierarchy or suppression, it's about harmony. When you no longer waste energy on proving your worth, you begin to create effortlessly. You become a quiet storm, calm on the surface, unstoppable beneath. People trust you not because you are loud, but because you are consistent. They feel your restraint as reliability, your discipline as dignity. The man who withholds is not weak. He is wise enough to know that energy, once spent, cannot be recalled. So he invests it selectively in vision, in purpose, in what truly matters. My respect for myself became the source of the respect I commanded from others. The more I learned to say no to distraction, to impulsiveness, to the need for validation, the more the world said yes to me. That is the paradox of power. When you stop chasing it, it starts orbiting you. And so I move now through life, quietly, intentionally, withholding not from fear, but from mastery. Knowing that every ounce of energy conserved becomes presence, and every moment of silence is a statement of strength. There is a strange liberation in choosing not to react. Every day, the world offers me provocations disguised as opportunities, the urge to prove a point, to respond to a critic, to defend my ego against misunderstanding. But I have learned that every reaction is a withdrawal from my spiritual bank account. The moment I spend energy on proving, I lose energy on becoming. Silence, then, became a form of self-preservation, not cowardice, but conservation. It is the pause before precision, the space where clarity is born. When I stopped engaging in trivial battles, I began to win invisible wars. My focus sharpened, my speech refined, my actions gained weight. The less I said, the more each word meant. It was as if my silence trained people to listen. That is the quiet authority of the disciplined man. He speaks once, and the world adjusts its frequency. There is also an art to observing the dance of others without entering the rhythm. In meetings, in relationships, in the pulse of daily life, I began to watch how people chase validation, how noise becomes a form of insecurity. Everyone wants to be seen, but few understand that visibility without gravity is vanity. When I withheld, I became the observer, detached yet aware, invisible yet influential. People began to sense that I saw more than I said, that my silence wasn't emptiness, but understanding. The human mind, I realized, fears what it cannot read. Mystery commands attention. It's not manipulation, it's magnetism. By simply being comfortable with pauses, I created gravity. This, I learned, is the modern expression of masculine restraint, the ability to remain rooted in presence while the world trembles with overexposure. There were moments, however, when the discipline cracked. Desire, anger, pride, they rose like storms within me. I remember times when silence felt suffocating, when I wanted to roar, to assert, to remind the world of my worth. But in those storms, I found my real training. The art of silent dominance is not perfected in peace. It is forged in conflict. I began to treat temptation as a teacher. Every impulse to react became a signal to look inward. Why did I crave to be heard? Why did I need recognition? The answer was always fear, fear of being unseen, unvalued, forgotten. Once I recognized that fear, it lost its hold. In that space, power returned. Each withheld word became a brick in the fortress of my composure. Each mastered urge was another step toward sovereignty. I learned that the true warrior is not one who conquers the world, but one who conquers himself in every moment. Slowly, this philosophy extended into every part of my being. Even in desire, I saw the same pattern. The urge to release, to consume, to expend energy before understanding its purpose. Semen retention became not merely a practice of the body, but a mirror for the mind. When I could withhold my life force, I could withhold anything: anger, lust, distraction, weakness. Energy, once mastered, transforms into will. And will, once mastered, transforms into aura. I could feel it, that golden quiet radiating from within, that subtle awareness that needed no advertisement. People began to respond differently. Their respect was no longer for my words, but for my energy. I realized that what others perceive as charisma is simply containment, power that has not been wasted. In a culture that rewards overexposure, the man who conserves becomes sacred. My life began to mirror this inner geometry. The more I withheld, the clearer my direction became. Relationships simplified. Goals sharpened. I stopped chasing abundance and started embodying it. Discipline turned from burden to rhythm, the pulse of a new kind of freedom. When I awoke, I didn't reach for the world. I reached for my center. I spoke less but listened more. And in listening, I saw patterns. How people reveal their fears through words. How silence reveals truth without needing proof. This awareness became my advantage. Silent dominance, I realized, is not about controlling others but reading the currents of reality without being swept away. The more still I became, the more I understood that silence is not the absence of action, it is the seed of it. From silence, strategy is born. From stillness, strength. Today, I live as both participant and observer, fully engaged with life, yet untouched by its noise. My silence no longer isolates me, it defines me. It is my discipline, my identity, my quiet rebellion against a world addicted to noise. To withhold is to own yourself completely. To remain silent in mastery is to speak in presence. I no longer measure power by volume, but by vibration, the unseen field of respect that surrounds a man who knows himself. Silent dominance is not a posture, but a principle. To be anchored, to be patient, to be unshakable. In this mastery, I have found peace, not the peace of surrender, but the peace of sovereignty. I have learned that the most commanding voice in the room is often the one that chooses not to speak. Before we conclude, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and do not forget to drop your location in the comments. I'd love to know where you are watching from. And if you ever have any questions, join our Telegram channel where we interact directly and help each other grow. The link is in the description. Please share video to your dear one. Have a powerful day.